So I'll start the presentation. First, just a second. This is the platform is new to me. Yeah, yeah. These are some of the numbers that I wanted to show to you guys, and this is basically aimed towards somebody who is doing their majors in sales and marketing. So if I look at these numbers, then basically these are numbers from the post that I did on LinkedIn. So there were close to 16,677 views of the post. There were 103 likes, 88 comments. I sent across close to 75 mails. There were 30 responses on the form. So if you look from the views to actual percentage, it is 0.2%, and 34 is the percentage from comments to actual. So basically it gave me an insight that even if you do it for free, 100% is a myth. So if you're running any marketing campaign and you think that you are providing option of free and your model is freemium, then everybody will come and have a look at your campaign or will be converted. It's a myth. So this was one of the learnings that I had through this post on LinkedIn. Now coming to MECE framework. So just to give you explanation of the framework, so it basically means that you segregate things into two halves. First, you need to ensure that everything that you are looking at, every option, that is mutually exclusive. If I have to give example of mutually exclusive, it will be Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi. Both have completely different ideology. They come from completely different parties. But if I talk about Narendra Modi and Amit Shah, then they are not mutually exclusive because they come from same school of thought, and whatever they think is in the same direction. So these two can't be mutually exclusive. But yeah, Rahul Gandhi and Narendra Modi, they can be a good example of mutually exclusive, if I talk about it. And second, ME means mutually exclusive, and CE means collectively exhaustive. And if I talk about collectively exhaustive, so it basically means that whatever ideas you should have, all those ideas, when taken together, they should just give up all the possible solutions that are there for a problem. So through this, I like to take you through one example of one of the recent just a second. Yeah. So say if a government has a problem of reducing corona cases, and if I apply MECE framework to it, so there are basically two things that can be done. First can be stopping the new cases, and second will be treating existing cases. So if I talk about the possible solutions when I have to stop new cases, they can be again broken into two parts. First part can be having measures such as social distancing or screening or contact tracing. And if I talk about social distancing, it will again include measures such as allowing only essential services, shutting down public places or work from home, and avoiding travel. And if I talk about treat existing cases, then it will basically involve having more and more hospitals in place, doing rapid testing so that we are able to detect early which of the cases are there which can become difficult to handle in coming days. And if I talk about hospitals, then again hospitals need to focus on three things, that is having ventilators in place, having vaccination in place, and maybe trying options. Yeah. So this is the breakdown using the MECE framework for the corona cases that I have. So basically, if I talk about this framework, so this framework involves just yeah, so this framework involves taking a problem and then breaking it down into into multiple parts, and all those parts collectively should be solving the end purpose. So that is briefly about this framework, and this framework can come easy when you're going in a client call, or if you're going in a client meeting and client randomly throws up to you a question and says that my profits have gone down. So now what your approach in this case should be to look at what are different avenues because of which profits are decreasing, and then you have to explore each of those avenues, and then you need to drill down further on each of them and then come up with a solution, instead of giving a point blank solution that yeah, since your profit has gone down, so according to me maybe your costs have increased, or maybe your revenue or sales have gone down because of which the profits have gone down. So you need to break a problem into multiple parts before coming at a solution. So this is what this framework does. And if I talk about the case which I provided you, so it was related to profitability. There is ABC Partners, a private equity firm, and who has hired you as a consultant, and they basically acquired a retail chain, and post acquisition their revenue increased 2x. However, the profitability reduced from 40 to 35%. Now the client wants you to figure out why this happened and suggest suitable remedies. So this was the case that I have given. The tip for this case is that this is not a profit case, this is a profitability case. So profit, if you look, it's revenue minus expenses, whereas if I talk about profitability, then profitability has multiple ratios. Here we are talking about profit margin, that is revenue minus expenses divided by revenue. Now, in order to discuss this case, I'd like to ask if some of you would like to volunteer and play the role of a consultant here, so that for next 10 to 15 minutes at least we are having a discussion in which others can see what type of questions you are asking. Then I can give feedback on those questions and then maybe provide you with an ideal solution how you would have proceeded in this case. So if you anybody is interested, you can just write on the chat and we can take this forward. Yeah. So, I think okay, I'm getting no response, so I'll randomly pick some of you. So Arun, will you be interested in playing the role of the consultant?
Uh, yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So just to start with this case, what will be your approach? What will be the first set of probing questions that you will be asking me, if you can let me know, and then we can proceed further for next 10 minutes. Yeah.
So I would try to find out, since they have recently acquired a retail chain, what is the profitability and profit margin of the retail chain that they have acquired?
Okay, so my answer in this case would be yes, since you're asking about profitability of the retail chain, it was also profitable in lines with what our profits are currently. And it was a synergy match. That is why we went ahead and acquired that retail chain. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would also try to find out the cost of acquisition and the cost of integrating the new retail chain into the existing business, and if there are any other additional costs which have led to, decrease.
Yeah, the my answer in this for this question will be that there were no issues in the acquisition. The issue is that once we acquired that retail chain and we started operating them under our umbrella, what we see is that our profitability has reduced from 40% to 35%. So everything has happened after we have started taking care of that chain, and it has started reflecting in our P&L statement. So prior to that, everything was fine. It's just that we have integrated them. You can think of the us as a big bazaar. Now we have acquired a retail chain such as Chroma. Now we have added Chroma to our bucket. And after acquisition, what we see is that our revenue have increased 2 times, but our profitability has reduced considerably from 40% to 35%. So now we are facing this
So,
situation that we, yeah,
I would like to give it a try. So,
yeah,
in my
sure.
opinion, if I was a consultant, I would have basically thought about this like cost of sales might have increased,
Hmm.
even though the revenue is increased, but still the expenses might have increased for the retail firm. And secondly, so the net margins might have decreased for the retail firm. The net margins might be like very low, as a result of which, even though revenues have increased, we are not seeing much gain in profit. And the reasons why the retail chain might be facing low net margins or increased cost of sales might be because of the supply chain issues or fuel costs or increase in the value of products. So like, this is my approach to the case.
Yeah, yeah. You're uh, just a sec. Yeah. So yeah, you're thinking in the right direction, but it's just that you need to bucket all these things. If I come to what analysis in this case would have been, so if I talk about profitability, then profitability is basically affected by three factors. First is your fixed cost per unit sales. So what is the sales you are doing and what is the fixed cost per unit sale for that? And second is, as you rightly told, product mix. What is the product mix that I am having? I am having more electronics good, or I am having more, say, grocery related group. And then third will be product profit margin. So product profit margin in this case will be, say, the price of products and the variable cost of product. So in this case, I need to look at these three avenues. I need to bucket them into these three, and then I need to investigate this further. Like in this case, the product mix more or less remains the same, because we had grocery and then we had synergy, so we bought in electronic products. And if I talk about product profit margin, so it also more or less remained the same. The difficulty in this case was fixed cost per unit sale, which was there for the retailer who has acquired, who for the firm which has acquired the retail store, it has gone up, and because of which we are facing this issue. Now I have given you this pointer. Now I just wanted your input. If you have known that okay, fixed cost per unit sale has increased, so what are some different aspects or some different variables which might be contributing towards it? So if you want to take a shot at it, that which all factors will be affecting the fixed cost per unit sale. Sansi, you were saying if you have, if you want to take a shot at it, can you take it? Okay. Okay. Okay, then I'll proceed further and just let you know what next set of action step will be in this case. So since,
Is it uh, hello,
yeah,
good evening. It's because of the number of the production units that is supposed to be happening before comparative to right now. Maybe that has increased a lot comparative to the uh, new amount of the employees which we had who would actually do the number of productions. They were
yeah,
not able to produce that much.
yeah, you're on the right track. Actually, it's not related to production, because if you have dig deeper and ask me right question, so the thing would have been that this is a kind of big bazaar kind of chain where they don't produce anything as such. So they are distributors. They get things from different distributors and then they sell it in their store. So yes, the number of employees have increased considerably because they have acquired a new chain, and that chain also had employees. So if I look at it from the fixed cost per unit sales point of view, then in this case there are some factors that basically uh, are responsible for fixed cost per unit sales. First is, as you told, so maintenance cost is there, employee cost is there. So what is the maintenance cost of the premise that I am having? What is the employee cost that is there for the employees that I have hired? And then what is the delivery cost? And then fourth is the rent cost. So rent cost, basically it again depends on two factors. That is, what is the rent per square feet I am what is the rent per square feet of the premises, and also what is the sales per square feet. So if I look at these factors, then these factors broadly contribute towards fixed cost per unit sales. And again, if I talk about fixed cost per unit sales, then in this case more probing questions would have been, okay, so we know that fixed cost per unit sale has increased, so what was the effect on the rent cost? So if I look at the initial number in the case that I've shared, so each floor space of old and new building, their total area, in this case we can assume it to be same. So what we see is that previously they were having say X store, now they have X plus 10, X plus 20 stores, and their revenue has increased to 2x times. So basically their store, the number of increase in stores will be less compared to what is the increase in revenue. And from here what we can deduce is that basically their rent per square feet has considerably came down, because they did one acquisition and that acquisition has increased their revenue 2 times. So their rent has came down, and their, as rent has came down, so maintenance cost also comes down. And also if I talk about employee cost, so employee cost is general, which people expect that it will increase, because employee cost is something, when you acquire a company you get additional set of employees, so your employee cost per unit sales will also increase because you have done acquisition. So these three factors, if you could have probed further, then we have got to know that these three factors are not contributing enough towards fixed cost per unit sale. The factor that could have contributed would have been delivery cost. Now if I talk about delivery cost, then delivery cost, again it depends on two things. One is the cost per trip, that is the number of trips that you are taking to make the delivery, and second is what is the trip per unit sales. So basically if you are selling an item, then what is the average number of trips that you are taking to sell those items? And in this case, if the candidates would have probed me further, then I would have told them that since we acquired a Chroma kind of chain, so it has electronic items, and we were a big bazaar where we were selling not electronics item, but basically we were selling grocery items. So what happened in this case is that we were having trucks which were smaller in size because we were delivering items such as say fruits, vegetables, and groceries. Now we suddenly acquired a company which is into electronics items, so we were using same trucks for selling for transporting electronics item, and because of that what happened is that our number of trips increased significantly and our cost per trip was same. So that basically resulted in lower profitability for us, and that could have been solved by either having big trucks so that we can ship electronic items, or either just reducing the number of trips. So that could have been the approach in this case. So basically if I talk about this case, so this was a profitability case. And if I go back again, so basically what you need to do is that use MECE framework broadly, and then break down profitability into different factors that contribute towards it, and then you need to probe on each of those factors to get the input from your client. And once you get input, then you need to dig deeper into each of those factors, and then you need to bring it down, and finally you need to come to a conclusion and give your recommendation. So if I take example from my day-to-day job, so in case of automobile manufacturers or the companies, when we go for digital marketing campaign, the thing is that they generally feel that TV is a big medium, and because TV is a big medium, so digital, it doesn't make sense for us, because our crowd or the audience that we are targeting, they are mostly watching TV, so digital is not a preferred medium for us. Then we need to break it down into certain different parts and tell them that okay, since you are reaching out to only say TV audience, and then you are missing out on the digital audience, because if you look at the demographics right now, this is the percentage of the users who are watching YouTube or who are consuming video platforms, and these set of users will be transitioning to a upper income group in coming years. So you need to make an impact then and there itself. So you need to break down problem into multiple parts and then come up with a solution. So the best way about to how to go about it is having this framework in mind, which is expansive and reductive thinking. So even if you take part in any case study competition, or if you are taking part in say any internal competition in your B schools as well, first of all what you should do is that write down each and every idea which comes to you. That is expansive thinking. That is, think about whatever you can do. So like I took part in Mahindra War Room, and ours was a case related to agriculture. So what we did is that initially we wrote down whatever thing we can do for that case, and initially when you will write down, you will have multiple ideas, and some of those ideas would not make sense. So that is where reductive thinking comes into picture. That once you have written everything under the sun, then you just remove all those things which are not necessary. So then what you will do is that you will come up with one or two options which you, based on your research or based on your interaction with your client or the stakeholder, will know that these are most logical set of steps that can be taken right now. And after you come to it, then you frame your solution, and after you come to these steps, again you will have two or three options based on your reductive thinking. And then what we do is that we basically do a pro and con analysis, where we just weigh each of the options and give them some weightage. We can use proxies in this case. Like if I talk about digital marketing, then you can use proxies of some of the competitors which are there for your client, and then you can tell them that see, this client was investing this much, or this client was running this campaign, we saw these reach. So if you run a campaign of this type, these are the advantage, these are the disadvantage. And if you run a campaign of this type, then these are the advantage or these are the disadvantage. So basically a pro con analysis will give you more insight into which option is the best option to proceed, and then you can use that. And also one of the frameworks that we generally use is the prioritization matrix. So at a time you will have many options, you can just plot those options into this 2x2 matrix, and then you can look at the options which involve basically low effort and give high impact. Those will be quick wins. So if you're offering any solution to your clients, or if you are coming up with a case study solution and you are taking part in a case study, you know that there will be times when companies such as Mahindra and all, during our time, they gave cases on Uber and Ola, and we knew that they wanted to launch it as soon as possible. So in cases like those, what we did is that we gave them solutions which are quick wins for them, because everybody wants to act quickly on the recommendations. So you can draw a prioritization matrix, and then you can map different options that you thought of, and under those options, some will be quick wins, some will be major projects which will require say high effort or high impact. And in those projects, what you can do is that you can build a detailed plan. So this is how you approach a case, and this is how you go about using different frameworks. and this is what we generally do. And I'll open the floor up for questions if you have any, so that we can discuss those questions. Yeah.